Welcome to Symplicity Conversations, the podcast where business, culture, and community come together to inspire and empower. I'm your host, Catherine Ripley. Each week, we'll explore meaningful conversations about how today's business landscape is shaped by innovation, relationships, and the people behind the progress. From actionable insights and stories from industry leaders to topics like customer experience, fostering strong business relationships, and the role of automation, we've got you covered. Whether you're an entrepreneur navigating growth, a leader focused on building lasting connections, or someone interested in how culture and community drive success, Symplicity Conversations is here to guide you. If you're ready to turn challenges into opportunities and make meaningful strides in your business and community, subscribe now and join the conversation. Get ready to simplify complexity and make an impact with Symplicity Conversations. Welcome to Symplicity Conversations, where we explore the intersection of business, leadership, and technology. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Brian Cohen, the visionary behind the Confluence events, the Thought Series, and the festival. We'll dive into the inspiration behind this initiative, its impact on the tech community, and what attendees can look forward to at the upcoming Confluence Series conference in April of 2025. But first, let's dive into our Symplicity Insights. This is our famous quote, and I love this one for today. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower, and this is by, of course, Steve Jobs. I love his quotes. We've used him more than once. And I think this is a perfect one for today, Brian. So thank you for listening, and be sure to subscribe to Symplicity Conversations to hear more from our leaders shaping our future of business and technology here in Grand Rapids. So Brian, tell me a little bit about yourself and Confluence events that you have.
Yeah, well, first, thank you for letting me come in and talk about all this great stuff. So I am, if we want to start with the biography, originally from Texas. Grew up in a small town in West Texas. Moved to New York after school. Moved to St. Louis to do some things there. And then we landed in Grand Rapids about 8 years ago. My wife has family in the Traverse City area, so she started to nudge me about making the move up to Michigan.
Back in.
Yeah.
Nice.
And, as a spouse, you sometimes get those questions that you just need to say yes to. So I did, thinking I had a little bit more time in St. Louis to wrap stuff up. But she ended up getting an offer from Meyer fairly quickly. And within a couple of months, we were packing up, and I had a little bit of whiplash. But it's been a great move. And we've been able to do some great stuff here.
West Michigan is just so charming. I love it's like, especially Traverse City, I think, is the diamond, area. I that's our little Napa, area with all the wineries. But, I think for people when we're out and about, when I say I'm from Michigan, the first thing they do is, because, they just assume we're cold all the time, right? But they don't see the beautiful 4 seasons that we have. And I love all of our seasons. And yes, I am one that loves the snow. So that was a little bit getting used to being from Texas.
Well, luckily I had that detour through New York. So I was upper, East Coast for a while. That got me a little situated. So what inspired you to start the Confluence series? Well, it was really it came out of the shutdown, the pandemic. So myself and other event producers suddenly found ourselves with nothing to do. So I thought, rather than just curse the darkness, let's use this as an opportunity to come together and create something new and exciting and important for the region. I've done music festivals in the past, other things like that were just fun and entertaining. But I thought, let's look at the important part of this equation as well. What can we do to really have an impact? So really, innovation is what we landed on. We knew that there was a lot of terrific innovation happening across West Michigan, but it often happens in towers and behind closed doors. We wanted to be a platform to bring that innovation down to the street level, to really show people what was going on, to show people the opportunities that exist, here in West Michigan, so that after graduation, they're not instantly heading towards the coast. They realize that there's some opportunities for them here. So with the Thought Series in April, involving the thought leaders talking about, really all of these things in depth. And then with the public festival in the fall at Rosa Park Circle, that's our opportunity to bring out robotics and esports and all sorts of great things and actually physically engage with folks across all these great things.
So your background is video, is it not?
My background is pretty varied.
Oh, got it.
So I mentioned college. I was at the University of Texas and I studied architecture. So that's my profession. That's my formal training. But as soon as I graduated, I thought, I wanted to do something else. So I moved to New York and started making films, had some success creating documentaries. So I spent about 10 years there. Then I was recruited by a university in St. Louis to come and teach documentary film there. And while I was in St. Louis, I was really bummed that there was no outdoor music festival, because I had lived in Austin, I had lived in New York, places that had really dynamic music festivals, and I was always a big fan of live music. So waited a few years for somebody else to do it, and when that didn't happen, I thought, okay, I'll throw my hat in the ring and just try to do it myself. So created a music festival. I created a music festival that I wanted to go to. That was sort of the only driving impetus behind it. But that was successful. I ran that for 5 years, and then the move up here. So really the through line of all of that is I've never really been trained in anything that I do. I just jump in and try to make it work. And luckily there's not been any major disasters yet.
You sound like an entrepreneur. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're pushed off the cliff. Sometimes we intentionally, but yeah. And when you get there, it's like, what do you do next?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I imagine the pandemic created all sorts of opportunities for new businesses, that people might not have been inspired to do that. So that's really interesting.
You hate to think of it as it certainly wasn't a positive in any way, but there was just that opportunity to make lemonade, and that's really what we tried to do.
Right, definitely. Let's talk about the Thought Series. I know Symplicity is sponsoring the Thought Series here in April in just a little bit. So let's talk about what the attendees can expect from that. That Thought Series.
So like you said, Symplicity is our presenting sponsor. So that's the top spot. We're very grateful and happy to have you all there. It's a perfect fit, I think. So what people can expect, we are a 2-day event, and we curate different panels and sessions around an organizing theme. And that theme differs every year. We're going into our 4th year. The first year we looked at MedTech. Because that was just such a strong thing in West Michigan and Grand Rapids, particularly. Year 2, we looked at the effort to create a tech hub in West Michigan, so that was really interesting. Last year, we looked at the idea of an innovation rainforest, the idea that tech is important, but for it to flourish, it really needs to be surrounded by a whole bunch of other things, marketing and engineering and all of these other fields that need to be nurtured and scaffolded as well. Rainforests thrive because of diversity. Right. Tech innovation areas do that as well. They need that diversity. So that was last year. This year we are looking at, the theme is we make things. So West Michigan is known for making mostly products, or certainly products, but our expertise extends beyond just making physical things. So the theme is we make things, building better communities, companies, and teams. So across 2 days and 8 sessions, we have over 24 leaders coming from all sorts of different walks of life. We have CEOs, we have tech people, we have business people in general, we have philanthropists coming in to talk about what we're doing in West Michigan to build better communities, businesses, and teams. So it's a conference that doesn't necessarily have it's not a deep perspective into any one thing, but it's more broadly based. So there's a number of different ways for somebody to plug in. If you're in the HR side and you want to hear from leaders who are doing interesting things in the team building side of the companies, then there's going to be something there for you. If you're an entrepreneur who wants to know about different ways to access capital, we have specific sessions on connecting to capital, whether it's VC, traditional, or otherwise. So we, across those 2 days, we just try to create a number of different opportunities and hope that people walk away inspired, engaged, and with a new understanding of all sorts of different things.
I always find I do quite a bit of networking. I'm on the Inforums board. I think I've been on that for 4 years now. When you have an event, especially a 2-day series, you're going to meet somebody. Like the topics I almost feel like the topics aren't the big focus. It's when you get there and you're sitting there and you connect with people. Connections are so important during these types of events. And that's really why I felt it was important for us to sponsor, because connecting into the community, we just moved into a new space at 60 Monroe Center, and our name is going on the building, and we're so thrilled about that. I can't even tell you. But it's before, the last 19 years, I've been connected into the community, but now it's a little different. In this last month of getting moved into the space, we're really getting connected into the community. So as I'm looking at this event, I think that's something for people to think about is no matter what topics are there, no matter what, who's speaking, who's available, you're going to meet somebody to make an impact. Do you agree?
Oh, I do. I'm glad you brought that up. Connection and networking within the event is certainly something that we plan for, and that always happens. And I think what's really interesting is, because we're not singularly focused on a particular topic. Like I said, we have HR people, we have philanthropy people, we have others. We have those in the audience as well. So if you went to a strictly HR conference, those are the folks that are typically going to be in the audience. But with us, you're going to find all sorts of different folks from all different walks of life and all different sectors and businesses and things like that. So that networking opportunity is really dynamic and an important part of the event. And we should also mention the field trips. So we have the formal sessions each morning of the day, and then we have a networking lunch and field trip to a interesting company in the area that's doing, visionary work in some area. So we're grateful to have Symplicity host that first field trip on day one. So we're going to bring people to your building. It's going to be easy to find because of the name.
Yes.
And then you all are going to host a lunch and networking opportunities for our attendees. So we're really excited about that.
It's really cool because right now we just met with our sign people that's going to change the name. And March 1st, our brass signs are going on the side, the brass plaques, but the name on the building is going to be changed on April 1st. I'm like, perfect, just in time for the Thought Series
that
luncheon.
Is perfect, yeah.
And I'm excited to have a couple of our service providers that we're bringing in, with technology, and AI and automation is just huge. And so we want to be able to show our guests that come to our field trip, just like what's happening, in like one of them is Ring Central with their phone system, UCAS product, and they've got a lot of really cool AI things that are happening. So there's a few of them that we're inviting in, and we're going to have fun with the lunch, and there'll be some cool giveaways and stuff. So we're excited to have that field trip.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
I wonder, as you think about your first year in Inception, sometimes with events, you learn like, oh, I'm not going to do that again, or, oh, we should do this. How has it evolved over, this being the fourth year, how's it evolved? And are you doing things that you didn't do early on that you've learned? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so we're events that are about innovation, so we want to constantly innovate as well. We don't want to just present the same thing year after year. So with our Thought Series, moving the theme every year, that's our way to sort of keep that fresh and updated. With the Fall Festival, and maybe I should set up a little bit what that Fall Festival looks like. So
let's do it.
So this happens in September. We're in Rosa Parks Circle. And again, the driving themes are art, music, science, and tech. So we look at what happens when innovation in one of those areas overlaps with innovation in the other. What sort of positive things can result from that? So a musician that has one foot in music but one foot in art, how does that impact her stage presence or whatever it might be?
Right.
So in Rosa Parks Circle, we have different program areas representing that idea. We've got a big robotics expo. We have an esports expo. We do AI. We do a STEAM area called the Future Innovator Zone. So we have something for the upcoming generation. We have a Makers Expo and all sorts of things. So that's a really engaging, fun, dynamic thing that happens in the fall. So for that event, in terms of how that's changed and evolved, when we defined the four pillars, art, music, science, and tech, we really wanted to create a model that could expand because we anticipated that the event would expand as it became more and more part of the community. And that's exactly what's happened. So we've started with some core program areas, but we found ways to plug in new things as we went along. So, for instance, last year we introduced a fashion component because fashion involves art, it involves science in some ways, et cetera.
Right.
Moving forward, we're going to introduce a culinary aspect to that as well because the science and art of food. So it's really a model that is almost infinitely expandable because, again, so many different ways to plug into it. And as we do that, we just bring in more and more different audiences. Right. And like I said, with the Thought Series, you have those overlapping audiences in the as attendees. We see that in the fall as well. Folks who come for the esports may never think to go to a robotics expo because they're just not into robotics, but they're there for the esports on the main stage. They see all the interesting stuff happening on the robotics expo, so they just naturally go over there just to see what's going on. So there's these incredible journeys of discovery that happen with our audiences and in opportunities to expose them to different things that they may not even know they're interested in.
Yeah, and that festival is during Tech Week, GR,
Yes.
which we've spoken with Jennifer Wangler at The Right Place, and they had a 10-year initiative. And what's cool about Tech Week, GR, is I think this is the 4th year of that as well. And this year.
I think 3 this year.
Yeah. So they have a 10-year plan, and we are second in the Midwest largest tech week. And I think that's really, really cool. And I'd love to talk a little bit about how Confluence contributes to that larger vision of Tech Week GR. And why do you think this partnership is significant?
Yeah, so Tech Week, I think it's 3 years old only because I think we're a few years older than they are. We started in 2022 or 2021.
Got it.
I think they came in 2023. I may be wrong about that. But it's been a terrific partnership and an interesting model because what Tech Week said and the folks who run it over at The Right Place said, all right, let's create an umbrella and let's try to wrap up all these great individual events that are already happening in the region. So Confluence was pre-existing, but we became the capstone experience for Tech Week because we were able to slip under this umbrella. We didn't have to change our model. We didn't have to change our organization in any way because they created the umbrella that just enveloped anybody who wanted to be under it for the most part. And I think that's why when they talk about attendance, they've been so successful because it involves all these organizations and events that were already existing. That Tech Week itself doesn't produce events. The Right Place does individually, and they exist individually within the tent or the umbrella. But it's a model that just says, all right, these are all the great things that are happening. We're going to market it together. We're going to make sure that people know about the whole range of things happening. And I think that's been a successful model.
I love the collaboration. Like sometimes it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
So the collaboration between what are they doing? How can we partner? How can we leverage and help each other be better? Because I think sometimes it's better together.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. And it also reinforces a sense that there's a critical mass of stuff happening here. It's not just Confluence happening in a vacuum over here or the startup, another event happening over here,
right.
At the name. But it's rather these are all the things happening in the community, and you're able to bundle them all together and see that critical mass of stuff. And then so once you have that, you can say, how are we, competing, or how are we compared with what's happening in Detroit or Indianapolis or Chicago? You can better compare yourself to those events, to those areas, if you're looking at West Michigan as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I remember her saying 7 events the first year, 70 last year, huge growth, but it's just going to get more and more every year as people learn and say, hey, me too, let me help, let me bring my ideas forth. So do you see any emerging trends or ideas that you think are important for tech leaders to be exploring right now?
So with the Thought Series, and I'm supported by a terrific program committee. I should make sure that everyone understands I'm a producer. My job is to get people into the building, get people onto the stage. I'm not a subject area expert in any of this stuff. Ask me about AI, and I'm not an expert. Ask me about anything else. So we rely on that program committee to give us ideas about what should we be looking at 12 months in advance, because we tend to program this stuff way in advance. What's happening in AI, what's happening in techno-humanism, what's happening across any of these sectors. Okay, this is how West Michigan's contributing to those efforts. We're primarily a local event in terms of our speakers and our leaders.
Right.
So we tend to say, all right, again, how is West Michigan playing a role? How is it moving the ball forward? Let's get those folks on stage to talk about what's happening locally to advance these things.
Cool. Confluence emphasizes cross-disciplinary thinking. So how do you encourage collaboration between the different sectors during the conference? That must be a little challenging.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it was really our starting point, collaboration. We thought, I'd had a sense being in the community for as long as I've been, that there is a great sense of collaboration and community amongst people, even in competing industries and competing companies. So I thought we should really lean into that and use that as an opportunity to curate sessions where we could highlight that. So we could put people on stage from the same industry and show that there was some cooperation there, especially when we looked at the rainforest last year, because that's all about cooperating within competition. That rising tide lifts all boats, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
So that's been a guiding principle, and it's helped us curate some really interesting panels of folks that are, sometimes surprised to be on stage with each other, or maybe the audience is surprised. But also we, in terms of cooperating across different areas, we don't just create a panel with HR folks. I don't know why I keep going back to HR, but it's just easy. Right. We don't create a panel just with HR folks, just with AI folks, just with money folks. We mix it all up. So we put a philanthropist on stage with an AI person on stage with somebody else, so that the conversation is new and interesting and has never happened before, because those folks have never been on the stage together. There's never been an opportunity to bring that range of people on stage at the same time and make it work. So that's something we wanted to do to delineate ourselves from other thought series, and also to provide something important that was new and nobody else was doing.
Yeah, it's so key. What's driving you is innovation, and you've got to be thinking constantly about where are the gaps? Yeah. Like, do you guys after your spring event and after the fall event, you must sit and look at where's the gaps, where can we, how do we solve that?
Yeah. Or at least contribute to the conversation. Right.
Yeah. Right. Got it. Let's talk about you. What inspired your passion for innovation and thought leadership like that, and how has it really shaped your career?
Yeah. So I think, again, it was moving to GR. As I'd said, I'd come out of a music background and a film background. When I moved here, to be honest, my first instinct was to stay in music and think about maybe creating a big music festival here. The population here is much different than St. Louis. There isn't necessarily the opportunities that there were. There's already some great music festivals here, so it felt like I would just sort of be stepping on toes and doing what other people are already doing. So that really caused me to sort of shift my focus and figure out, what else did I want to do? Where could my skills, hopefully be of benefit somewhere? So that was really where the innovation thing took hold. I think it was a combination of being here, understanding the innovation that was happening here, how much of a focus it was for the community, and how important it was that the community talk about what it was doing. I felt there wasn't a great platform, again, to bring that down to the street level. So that was the opening that we really jumped into and tried to make a difference.
Oh, very cool. What advice would you give to individuals looking to spark meaningful conversations or lead initiatives like Confluence?
Advice to other event producers. Well, I laid out my career as being a series of leaps into things that I knew nothing about. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. That's not always a recipe for success. But I think for an event producer who wants to get into something, I think the most important thing is just to understand your responsibility. If you do a big public event, it's your event, and you're responsible to your funders and your audience and things like that. But you also have a larger responsibility because in a number of ways you're representing the city. So when we launched Confluence, I knew that it was big enough so that it would start to be connected to Grand Rapids. And if we had fallen on our face or done something not responsible, then that's going to reflect negatively on Grand Rapids itself, on its people, on its whatever. Yeah. And something like that can have a real chilling effect. I mean, it can crater a single event, but it can also have a chilling effect that the next event that wants to get off the ground, people might say, well, wait a second, this is we already got burned once. We may not be doing it again. So I would say feeling a responsibility for that public trust is most important. But then if you have a passion for it, if you think you can pull it off, if you can surround yourself with enough talent and experienced people to scaffold you where you need that support, then I would say jump in and do it. Because there's a lot of great things to do, and a lot of opportunities for the right person to jump in.
And you never know where it could go. I mean, the seed could start small, but then it could really, really grow. We've got some other things in Grand Rapids, like Art Prize, that have done that. It started small and just really, really have grown. Yeah. Let's talk about your favorite moment or achievement from a past Confluence event.
Favorite moment. There's been a lot.
I bet.
Yeah. So we're entering our 5th year. So yeah, there's a little bit of history to think back on. I think it might be in 2023 when we moved to Rosa Parks Circle with the fall event. So when we started in 2021, my vision was always for Rosa Parks because I wanted to be in the heart of the city. I thought this event would really play well, specifically in that space. But for logistical reasons, it wasn't available. So we were at Calder Plaza that first year in 21. It wasn't available in 22, so we went to Studio Park, had a really successful event out there. But then in 23, the city reached out and said, we have an opening, one of the busiest weekends in the year. Why don't you come and do Confluence at Rosa and show us what you can do. So I certainly jumped at that opportunity. And opening day at Rosa, was that special moment because it was the initial vision, fully realized after a few years.
So that was in 23.
That was
23. 24, you're locked in, and 25, you're locked in.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you could, I know you mentioned you normally do a lot of local speakers or local celebrities, let's call them. But if you could have any speaker or panelist at Confluence, who would it be and why?
I should say we do reach out a little bit. So we had someone from Chicago one year. We have somebody from New York coming in this year. So we're a little bit larger than just local, but I hear you. Anyone I could have, alive or dead?
Yeah, let's do it.
Off the top of my head, so I'll go alive, and I'll say Yuval Harari, the Israeli historian and philosopher, who wrote a couple of volumes, a couple of books that really have impacted my worldview or helped shape my worldview. The first book you wrote was called Sapiens, A Short History of Humankind. And then you wrote a second book, Homo Deus, A History of the Future.
Oh, wow.
So, he's a big thinker. He's
very meaningful.
He's very broad. But yeah, just two incredible things. And I think he would bring something really interesting. The first book looks at, without going too deep into it, how Homo sapiens came to rule the world, for better or worse.
Right.
And the idea that he really zeroes in on is our ability to cooperate across large numbers of people. So an example he uses is, if you put 10 monkeys in a room, things will probably go okay, won't be too bad. Put 100 monkeys in a room and all hell breaks loose. So they're just not able to function amongst themselves in that, with those numbers. But an airline can put 300 of us into a tube and we'll sit quietly for hours and With some will, yeah. Well, yeah. For the most part, we'll sit quietly for hours until it's time to get up. So he used that as sort of, the unique thing that ascended us to the top. In his second book, Homo Deus, he looks at really the future through the lens of techno-humanism, and what's happening with the merging of technology and human physiology, and what that means for the future as we increasingly become cyborgs, with technology merging with us physically. What happens when gene therapy starts to stop the aging process, so some of us become, basically immortal if we can avoid getting hit by a bus.
Right.
And what that means on the societal level. Right now we think of the haves and the have-nots in terms of economics, but he suggests that soon we're going to start thinking about that divide in terms of people who are superhuman, who have superhuman traits, computers merged with their brains, again, immortality, and how does the society continue to function when there's that sort of difference between the haves and have-nots. We tend to think of the difference being here. I think he would say the difference is right now is really here, but it's headed to here.
Got it.
And how does society hold together?
That would be a impactful, meaningful conversations, yes. And that really just spark the seeds, and then that would go on in the ripple effect of that. Yeah, wow, yeah, great.
But that's a pipe dream. We could never afford Yuval, but
yeah, maybe he's listening to the podcast. Come on over. West Michigan's great, especially in September.
Yeah, maybe.
Awesome. Well, how can people get involved with Confluence? And, what's the best way to stay updated on the upcoming conferences and thought series that you have?
Well, we have a number of different ways to get involved. On the thought series side, we're always looking for topics for our sessions and speakers and thought leaders to populate them. So if you're a person who's in that world and are interested, you should certainly reach out and make sure we know who you are and that you're interested in participating. That would be great. We have opportunities for field trips at the end of each day, like we mentioned. So companies that want to bring 50, 60, 70 people into their space to talk about what they're doing. We have opportunities on that side as well. And then just as being an attendee, we just love to have a wide range of folks in the audience. So it's not a conference built for a particular population or a particular demographic. Again, we try to create programming that is of interest to a wide range of folks. So we always love to see that diversity in the audience.
So what's your website where they can go purchase a ticket or get more information?
Okay. So I'm not sure when this is going live, but I think tickets will already be on sale. But the best place to go is confluencefest.com. And you'll find a link for the Thought Series and everything else you need to know. Very
cool. So what do you hope that attendees take away from Confluence 2025? And what's your message to the Grand Rapids tech community?
Well, I think my message is, just keep doing what we're doing and keep doing more of it. I hope people come away from both events inspired and, really energized for what they saw, what they heard, what they experienced, because I think that's what Confluence can bring to the table, is just an opportunity to expose people to all these great things and show them a way to connect into it further.
Oh, very cool. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for sharing all this amazing information about Confluence. I'm thrilled to be sponsoring the Thought Series in April, and hopefully listeners can go to the website and grab some tickets. But I really appreciate you sharing information today.
Well, I loved being here. Thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for listening to Symplicity Conversations. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and visit us at thesimplepodcast.com to connect and learn more about inspiring leaders like Brian. See you next time.